So when I was younger, I was a swimmer from the age of, well, I think I started swimming when I was like 6 or 7, and I grew up in the Isle of Man, so I quite quickly went onto like that Isle of Man like national squad, which would be the equivalent of being like in like the county squad here, I guess. And yeah, so I was like a breaststroke swimmer, and then when I was about 15, 16, I had loads of problems with like my hips and my knees that weren't diagnosed properly for ages, and so I effectively transitioned into like a long distance freestyler because that was the only stroke that I could do, and I spent like 2 years with a pull buoy, which is like the float thing that you stick in between your legs, because I just like couldn't kick my legs. Long distance freestyle events like 400 free, 800 free, 1500, so 416 lengths of like the pool when it's 25 meters. So that would be like 5 minutes, and then 800 is like double that, and then 1500 is like a kind of 18-19 minute race.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's the longest event you can do in swimming. And then when I came to uni, I carried on swimming, but decided like not to really compete that much, just because I couldn't really do what I really wanted to do, which was like all the breaststroke events. But I carried on training just because I absolutely loved it, and I still love swimming. There'll never be a time in my life that I don't swim. It's like my favourite thing to do.
Have that problem with you?
Not as much. It would flare up like sometimes, but it wasn't as bad. But I'd had too long where I'd not been able to do breaststroke for that. I couldn't then compete. I couldn't be at the same level that I used to be at, and so I just didn't like really want to do that. So then in my last year of uni, the boys that I swam with were like, "Oh, you should try triathlon." And I'd literally only just bought a road bike. I'd done loads of running as well when I was younger, so the only thing I hadn't done was cycling. So I went to BUCS, which is like the British University Championships, and I came like in the top 20, and I'd literally not done any kind of I like just been going for like a few runs, like went for a few rides on this bike, and I rode with like flat pedals on.
So you didn't have like a training program?
No, not at all. Like I just literally went for a few bike rides, fully freestyled it. And then I started working as a physio full time and just kind of did it as like a little bit of a hobby. And then really, really enjoyed it. And I'd really missed, because I just always really love training, really love pushing myself. I'm very like intrinsically motivated. I don't need someone to tell me what to do.
That's great.
So I started racing triathlons and just started doing really well at them, and started learning a bit more of like what to do, what not to do, that kind of thing.
So is it just like entering like a half marathon, for example? You just find one online?
Yeah, effectively, yeah. So then I... in 2016, I raced at European Championships and came 4th. Nice. And realised that I could go to I was good enough to be able to get the times. They'd put out times for the Commonwealth Games for 2018. I was like, actually, if I properly commit to this, I could get there. And the Commonwealth Games was something I'd always wanted to do as a swimmer, and should have got there if I'd not had all those problems. So I'd never quite managed to get there. So I was like, yeah, okay. And I basically worked out, because I knew that I would have to be part-time at work, and I didn't have any funding or anything at that point. So I worked out the minimum amount of work that I could do to be able to afford to live and be able to train and recover, because that was the main problem, was I wasn't getting any recovery time. So I was swimming 5:30 till 7:30 in the morning, going to work for a full day, training again in the evening, like doing that 5 days a week, and then at the weekend again, like training both days. And it was just the recovery aspect wasn't there, so I wasn't able to actually train at 100% when I needed to, because I was so tired. So yeah, I went down to 3 days a week at work, and
did you train like 7 times a week, or?
Yeah, every day. So I just have Sunday afternoons off.
Is that like, because basically when I used to train for a fight, I was trained 7 days a week, but I'd have one day where it was like an active rest day.
So I'd have like active recovery like sessions, mainly on the bike, because you can do that a little bit easier. I would never have active recovery as running, because some people did, but because I didn't come from a running background, it's too like hard on your body. So I would just find that was never recovery for me.
So what did you do for recovery?
What active recovery? Just easy bike rides or easy runs, just like aerobic based stuff.
So you dedicated basically like 90% of your time to training.
And then I did manage to qualify for the Commonwealth Games, and then like I got like funding and stuff like that, and everything just like stemmed from there then. And
that was in 2016, did you say?
That was when I like fully committed,
to get serious, like I can actually be good at this.
Yeah.
So how many races did you do before the Commonwealth?
So gosh, well, actually in 2017 I had a really bad stress fracture. So, but to qualify, I needed to do like a certain time in a race that was like sanctioned to a certain level. So I'd planned like my whole race calendar for the year, starting in April, May time and finishing in October, to give myself the best chance to be able to do it. And then the first race that I did, I broke my foot. So I already had a stress fracture that I didn't know about, and I kept running on it, and I took it so far that when I was at the hospital, they were like, "Are you sure you didn't fall over or do something? Because there's no way you could have like run on the stress fracture." And I was like, "No, I just kept going."
That during the race as well?
It was during the race.
Did you complete the race?
I finished it, but I finished literally like hobbling over the line.
You finished it broken foot. That's crazy. You should have known better. You're physio.
So I ended up doing at the end of the season, I like managed to rehab really well and got better from it a lot quicker than most people would do. And I did like 7 races in 8 weekends, which I wouldn't say was like a best idea, but that meant that it gave me the best chance to qualify, and I managed to do the time that I needed to do in like back to back in 2 weekends.
How did that give you the best chance, or just the experience you're picking up? Or
just the amount of races. It was like one of them surely I got to make it.
Oh, okay.
I'm a very like all or nothing person, so either go in hard, do everything, or don't bother at all. Like there's no middle ground. So I was like, I'm just going to give myself every chance. If there's a race on, I'm going to go and do it.
So when you qualified, did you have like a certain amount of weeks that you just dedicated to? I guess in kickboxing we call that training camp, like, or fight camp, where we have a competition coming up. It's like an 8-week.
Yeah. So the Commonwealths in 2018 were in Gold Coast. So it was actually at the start of the season for triathlon, which is quite unusual. Normally your major competition would be towards the end or towards the middle. So normally like at the start of the season you kind of dip your toe in with like some easy races, but it was the first race. Or did I do one race before that? But even if I did, I didn't take that one seriously. It was just to like eke out any like bad things. So it was the 5th of April. So I literally, as soon as I started my winter training, everything was just focused on.
Was there a long period of time between that and your injury? Or did you have enough time to recover from?
Yeah. So I broke my foot in May 2017, and I was back racing properly, like running racing, by August. And then finished racing in October, had like 2 weeks off, and then it was just like a 12 weeks then up until
How did you get on in the Commonwealth Games?
I came 19th.
19th? Yeah. That's great. How many people was in that race?
I can't remember actually.
It's like a big amount of people that
well, it's all the major Commonwealth countries, but they get like an allotted amount, so there's only like 3 from England, 3 from Australia, 3 from New Zealand.
Yes, so that must have been a crazy competition to be able to make your
It was literally like, so the girl, the woman who won was world champion that year, but there was a whole host of people who'd been world champions before, people who'd won.
You would have been one of the least experienced people.
I was ranked last,
And you came 19th.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So basically, did you find a moment where, I mean, after that race, did you have a moment when you went back and said that I'm actually so good at this, I might even dedicate more of my time to this, or was it? Were you happy with the place? I feel quite sad looking back on it actually, because really all I wanted my whole life was to go to Commonwealths, and when I qualified for it I was like, I don't even care what I come, it's just I just want to go and finish that race because that's all I've ever wanted to do. It was already a goal achieved by then.
And then as it got closer I was like, I think I could get into the top 20. And then I kind of lost sight of that. And when I didn't have a great experience with the guy, the like team manager from the Isle of Man who they sent with me. And my race was the first race as well. So looking back on it, I don't feel like I'd had enough time on the other side of the world to like be prepared. Obviously it was April there, so we just had like winter here, and I'd had 2 weeks in Lanzarote like heat training, but it's still, I wasn't used to the heat. The humidity there is insane. I didn't even realise.
Is the altitude different as well?
No, the altitude is sea level, so that's fine. But honestly, the humidity was something else. 35, I think, when I raced. And the humidity was 100%. There was a massive thunderstorm as soon as we finished. And you would just like go, like when you went out for a run, you just looked like you'd had a bath after like 30 seconds. Like it was insane.
How long is the actual race? So how long do you run for? How long do you swim?
So it was a sprint distance. It's 750 swim, which is like 30 lengths of the pool, but in the sea. And also they described the sea as being really sharky there.
That's not good.
No, it's not.
There wasn't any shark accidents, was there?
But no, they were like, don't worry, on the race day they'll have like nets and helicopters, and I was like pretty sure if a shark can kill a human they could just bite for a net. But anyway, we'll crack on with that.
I guess it makes you want to just finish it faster. Let's get out of the way. So do you start with the swimming?
So it's swim, bike, run. So the swim's 750, the bike was 20k, and the run's 5k. So the whole race is just over an hour.
So I'm just interested in how you would prepare for a race like that. So do you do the 3 disciplines separately on different days, or do you have days where you do all 3 other ones? Yeah,
so most days I would do at least like more than one discipline, because I would train most days 2 or 3 times a day, and then the only day where I would do one discipline was like on a Sunday, because I do a long run on a Sunday and then have the rest of the day and the afternoon off.
And would you say that swimming is still your best?
No, actually, probably cycling now.
Really?
And that was
you cycle all the time, don't you?
That was the only thing that I hadn't done before triathlon. But Sheffield is so hilly that you just become a really good cyclist quite immediately. And it's also it's the only thing you don't like really need a technique for. So it's not like if people come from a running background and they've got to learn how to swim, that's quite difficult. I mean, like because it's a very technical thing.
Yeah, I just.
But to be a good cyclist, like you've just got to be strong and fit, basically.
Well, I said to you earlier that I'm not really a good swimmer. So when I think about swimming, I just assume that it's one of those disciplines that the more you do it, the better you'll be at it. So
100%.
Since you're really young.
Yeah, but I mean, the swimming at the standard that I'm racing at is like it's insane. It's really, really good. And if you're not a good swimmer, because it's draft legal, so when you're on the bike you can race in a pack together. So if you do long course triathlon, you're not allowed to be in a pack. You've got to have a certain distance apart. And if you race amateur triathlon, it's the same.
Is there any benefits of doing it?
So obviously if you're drafting, it's if you're in a big pack, you don't have to work as hard on the bike, and you can effectively get like sucked around with everyone, and you can work together. So someone will go on the front and work really hard, and then someone else will go on the front and work hard. And if you're on your own compared to being in a pack, you've got no chance of catching up. So you have to be a really good swimmer, because if you don't get out near the front and make that pack, you've got a lot of hard work to do.
That's really interesting. Although as a competition, you're almost kind of working together at that.
Yeah. And like if you go to certain events as a country, you actually might have a person who you're trying to get on the podium, so you'll work really hard for them in the bike, and like almost protect them so that they don't have to do loads of work, and they've then got really good legs for the run.
So you had 3 people from England, and you had 3 people from all these different
countries. So it was just me from the Isle of Man though. I was on my own.
Nice. So
I had no one helping me.
Just on your own, and you get on team. That's great. I mean, what the thing that you said that was interesting about the bike one is like, obviously I ride bikes sometimes, but every time I go for a run and I see people on a bike, I always think, these people on a bike, they have it easy. You know what I mean? He thinks they're easy. But then I get on a bike and I'm like, this is actually...
It's so hard,
Especially in Sheffield, like you said. Is there any sort of races that you did was like... This is a better question, actually. You said that you enjoy the biking a lot more because you don't really need to be that... Well, you need to be good at it, obviously, to do at the level that you've done it at. But you don't actually need to be as good as you need to be in swimming, for example, just to keep up with
it's just not as... you don't have to have a technique for it.
But I guess it's a bit more mental, isn't it?
Yeah, it's mental. It's quite like... I mean, I really like it because it's kind of like a game when you're racing as well. Like you still... Although you don't have to be as like technically good at it like a swimmer. You do like have to take corners a certain way, you have to be ready with your gears, you have to know when to brake, but also you have to be prepared all the time, because like someone might suddenly do it like a move, or might suddenly go, or might suddenly pull back, and you have to like just like work in the pack and stuff like that. So I think that's another aspect that I really enjoy about it. So you can't relax at all, and especially not if you're in a big pack of people, because if you go around a corner and you take it slightly wrong, you crash, or someone else crashes, and like that's it's game over. That feels
like you have to. How do you prepare for that? How do you train for that?
So you do. I would do a lot of like technical like racing tactic kind of thing, and I like really enjoy going to do what's called criterium races or crit races. So they're where you race on a closed circuit, and it's like a 1k lap, and it's got loads of corners in, and you race in a bunch, and that's effectively what you do when you're racing a triathlon in the bike leg, but it won't be 1k, it'll be like 4 laps of 5k or something.
Did you have like a team to like meet up and do these training sessions with?
So I would train with other people, other cyclists, other triathletes, but then also I would just enter. So in Sheffield there's a really good like cycling community, and there's quite a lot of these races going on just all around like Yorkshire and Sheffield. So I would just enter those races, but just go to them as effectively a hard training session, and then you can just practice doing that. So like during the summer there's ones on like quite often on a weeknight or Saturday and Sunday mornings, and you know I'd go to like they're quite often at schools who've got like cycle tracks around the back. So there's one at Forge Valley School, there's one there where they do quite a lot of racing, but like there's loads in like Wakefield, York, Doncaster. So it would just.
Do you get an opportunity to say if you have a race, do you get an opportunity to train that route at all, or do you just kind of have
to? No, so you would go out on like a recce of it the day before. I mean, for the Commonwealth we were there like 2 weeks, a week or two before, so you could take yourself around the course, but it would be open to traffic. So I've had a bad experience of that.
Tell me about it.
So when I race for a team in France in the French Grand Prix, which is like a professional league of racing in France, it's super cool. Like all the teams.
I'm guessing you go there often.
So they have 5 races throughout the summer, throughout the season. There's 5 girls on each team, and they have like men's racing as well, and the first 3 for each team score the points. But there's like loads of sponsors. It's very professional. You have like a contract. It's really cool racing. But the very first one that I went to, which was it was June 2021, so it was when we weren't allowed international travel, but I'd been given permission to leave the country because it was my job. So I went. It was great, and then it turned out to not be so great. So we're only racing in Dunkirk, so we went over on the tunnel, and on the recce of the bike I got hit by a car.
Oh man.
I have no recollection of it still to this day. The first thing I remember is waking up in the road in a full spinal board. The ambulance was there, and thinking, oh my god, why is everyone speaking French? I couldn't remember like why I was there, how I'd got there. It was awful.
Were you in France alone as well at the
time? My ex-boyfriend was there at the time, which was good because he managed to bring me home. I don't know how I would have travelled home otherwise, but I ended up in hospital in Dunkirk and had to have like scans. And
do you have any major injuries?
I had a really bad concussion from it, which took me a long time to get over, and I definitely started racing and training too soon after that. Now I can see that, like looking back on it.
What was the effects of it? Did you get lots of headaches and?
Really bad headaches. Just a lot of fatigue from it, cognitive fatigue that I didn't realise. So each day I was doing like cognitive tests where I would have to remember stuff or answer questions about stuff, and the sports doctor would be reading them out, like, remember these 3 colours or whatever, and I'd be like, oh my god, that's so easy, and then I couldn't remember them. I'd remember one, and like I remember when I went out the first day that I woke up without a headache was maybe like 5 or 6 days afterwards, and I thought, oh, I'm better, this is great, I'm going to go out for a walk. And I got to the end of the road and I couldn't work out whether it was safe for me to cross the road with the traffic. I just had no concept of how fast the cars were going, and I was looking at the cars and thinking, unless there's no cars here, I don't know if it's safe for me to cross. I don't know whether I can make it in front of this car. And I literally... I had a
concussion before, but nothing.
Oh, I just sat on the pavement and cried and then walked home because I was like, I'm not better. And I found like screens really bad for quite a long time.
Yeah, when I had that,
really bad.
I had like once or twice from sparring, but mine probably lasted like a day or two. And that's the problem. I couldn't even look at the phone. I was just switching, but I think for like 2 days I basically just stayed in the dark room. It was just horrid.
It was
Yours sounds like 10 times worse than
it was.
How long did it take for you to recover?
Honestly, to recover completely, probably about 3 or 4 months.
Wow.
But it was stuff like when we were in the car on the way home, I just had to have my eyes closed the whole time because I just felt so sick. I was just getting bad headaches, feeling sick. When I first went on the bike, I went on the turbo for quite a while afterwards, which is where your bike's on like your bike wheel, so it's stationary, because I couldn't manage like with the movement. As well as exercising at the same time, and swimming was the same as well, because you're constantly like turning your head, so it would just make me feel really dizzy.
Did you when you had your first race after that, did you feel like did you have any sort of problems whilst you were racing?
I thought I was fine at the time, but now I look back at it, like definitely my reactions weren't as sharp as they should have been,
and I think mentally it plays a massive part.
It really does. And like on these cognitive screens they were doing with me, they kept saying like, do you feel down or depressed or like anxious? And for the first few days I was like, no, I'm fine. And then the third day asked me and I was just burst into tears. I was like, this is,
I mean, because you got so used to training all the time, and now that's all of a sudden taken away from you. You don't know what to do.
There's that aspect, and then there's the aspect of I was really aware that I had got like cognitive problems from it, so just that I wasn't as sharp, I couldn't make decisions about stuff, even like logistical things, like when I went back to work I thought I was okay, and then I had to have some more time off because I couldn't like prioritize what to do at work effectively as I could before, and I was very aware that I had these problems, as well as just not being able to cope with training and my head just feeling awful. So it's I would have preferred to have had the broken bones, because that's you get your training taken away from you, but you feel fine in yourself. But I was trying to deal with the fact that actually, like, I don't know when this is going to get better, and I'm not myself at all.
And being aware of that must be just scary. Not knowing how long it might take for you to even get better, or if you even get better. Did you do any sort of like did you, obviously the physical side of things, there's the doctors and taking care of that, but did you do anything for the mental side of things?
Well, I did a lot of like cognitive rehab, so like trying to like remember things, doing certain tasks, doing lots of things with like eye movements as well, because that helps when you're struggling with like moving your head and stuff and getting dizzy. So I did lots of that, lots of like reaction type things, so also stuff like when you've got like the light coming up and like using your hands and stuff.
I wanted to try that.
Because then you're using like your brain and you're having to coordinate your movements as well.
Was it really daunting the first time you tried to do that?
I was terrible at it. I think I cried after that.
Did you?
So I'm used to being like really good at stuff like that. So, and I think
you're just terrible at it.
And I think I hadn't realised as well that I thought, well, this is easy, I'm going to be fine. And it wasn't. So there was a lot of times where I was just like, this is awful. And
did you feel like that had a massive knock on your motivation for training, or was it the opposite, where you kind of like, as soon as I'm better, I'm gonna get back on?
No, it was the opposite, because I definitely started training. Now I look back at it, I was training and racing too soon. I should have given myself some time, but because I just wanted to get going, and also because I think if it had happened in like winter when I'm just training and not racing, I would have given myself that time. But it was 2021, so in 2020 I'd not done any racing because of COVID. So I just wanted, like, I'd had like 2 years of just training, and I just wanted to race, and I knew that I'd got so much better since 2019. I'd made massive improvements, and I just wanted to race and wanted to just show that to myself, and just wanted to have the opportunity to do that. So I pushed myself too hard too soon, for sure.
Do you feel like you're always, did you feel like you're always in competition with yourself?
Yeah, definitely.
Because in fighting, you're in competition with yourself, obviously, because you're trying to always get better. But you also have an opponent that's training for like 8 weeks, just like you have to try and come and take your head off.
Yeah.
So like your focus is really more on the opponent when you have a fight coming up. But I guess for triathlon and these kind of like swimming or even biking or running, whatever, these kind of training, because you're not necessarily, you don't have like one single opponent that you're for. I mean, you're fighting yourself the whole time.
Yeah, you're always fighting for a position, and a lot of the time a position that you come in a certain race will mean that you can then enter like a race that's another level higher. So you are always fighting for that position or that time or whatever. But I'm always, like I said before, I'm so intrinsically motivated that I don't need those other people. I'll push myself to the limit with or without the competitors.
Do you have any like mental rituals or anything that you do to prepare for race days?
I like to do like a lot of imagery stuff. So just like imagining myself going through the race, knowing when it's going to be like painful, knowing how to like overcome that, and like a lot of like self-talk to myself. But that's something that I have learned along the way.
You try to put yourself in different scenarios and see how you
handle it. And I have found, I mean, I did a lot of imagery when I was a swimmer, and quite a lot of the time. So I would just imagine like everything, like how you feel, how the water feels. And I would also just imagine like the whole race, and then hitting like the pads at the end and looking up at the wall and seeing what my time was. And there was occasions where to the 100th of a second I got the same time that I'd imagined to myself. Like it's really, really powerful. It is
effective. I used to do that when I used to fight. I used to just sit there in a corner like just before they call my name, just try and go through all the scenarios, imagine the end of the fight, how that would feel. And, you know, if I'm stuck in a corner and if I'm getting my head kicked in or whatever, how I'm going to react to that, how I'm going to overcome that. But I guess that kind of comes with experience as well, because you know, when you have your first few competitions, you can't really think clearly like that. You can't really put your thoughts in that kind of order. It's almost like everything is just a chaos, isn't it?
And I had actually kind of forgotten and lost that side of it, and when I first started doing triathlon I didn't really do that. And then after the Commonwealths I spent a lot of time with a sports psychologist.
I was going to ask you about that. Because I'm always interested in people working with sports psychologists. What could you tell me about that? What elements of positivity
I found it so useful for me. So when I came back from the Commonwealth I wasn't super happy with how I'd done, and I'd also got only a couple of people like online had written some like really nasty comments about me and how I'd done, which I found really difficult. And literally
people are always going to say some shit.
Like hundreds of people messaged me and wrote really nice things about me, but you only remember like the two nasty things. And also because I wasn't super happy with my race. Again, I just like lost sight of actually the achievement and feeling proud of myself and realizing that I'd like just done something that I'd wanted to do since I was 10. Like I'd achieved my life goal. I kind of lost sight of that, and it was also quite difficult because when I came back, that was the start of the season, and so I had a full season to do, but I just achieved my life goal. It's kind of like, what do you do now? Like, what is this? Do I just carry on? Like all these other competitions seem kind of
not as important.
Just like, oh, well, how do I get excited about that when I've just done the biggest thing in my entire life that I've been working for like 15 years for? So I was in quite a bad place when I came back, and I spent like the whole of that season working with a sports psychologist, and it was like one of the best things I've ever done. I learned so much about myself, so much about like my values in life, and making sure that I was like living towards those values, and that was a really important thing for me. So rather than setting goals for stuff, working out what my values were and making sure that I was in line with those, and if I was in line with those, I was happy and I was relaxed, and that's when I would train the best, and that's when I would race the best as well. And
enjoy the sport a lot.
And that's the whole reason I started doing it, was because I just love sport and I love training and love racing.
So when you do something for so long, like a sport, I don't know if you felt this, but I've definitely felt this like later towards the later years of my career. Even in the middle, when I first turned pro, I went to uni for like 4 years. I came back and I didn't really have the training sessions or the training time that I needed to compete at that level, but I still did it because I'm Yusuf and I'm a fighter and I want to fight and this is all I do. There was really no joy in it. Like I remember one of the fights, it must have been about 19 or 20, and I was doing well. I was doing really well, but the final round, it was a draw, and we were going to the final round, and it was either win the fight or just lose it and not do enough. And I remember halfway through that round, I was thinking, it's getting a bit late. Do you think? I was asking myself if buses are still going to be running. How am I going to get home? You know what I mean? Because I wasn't really in it whatsoever. Like I was just doing it because I didn't really care about doing it that much, and I felt like I didn't fall out of love with the sport, but it was almost like just do it just to do it. You know what I mean? Did you have any races or anything like that?
Yeah, I think I kind of went the opposite way, where I started to care too much about what other people thought of me. Maybe because of the things that people had put online, but I started to care too much about that and just put overwhelming amounts of pressure on myself. So to the point where I'm never going to do well because I'm so stressed out about everything. And then I wasn't enjoying it. And yeah, when I do my best when I'm happy and relaxed, and I wasn't at all. So I did lots of work with the psychologist where we basically did like a chart where the things that I'm doing when I'm in my like optimal place, and then everybody will either go one way or the other on the spectrum. So they'll go to like underdone, so kind of like you, where you just like don't care about it and you don't want to be there. I tend to go the other way, and I go to like being overdone and then being reckless, where I'm actually pushing myself too hard, I'm training too much, I'm like gonna get injured, I'm gonna do too many races, I'm making mistakes because I'm just really stressed out about everything.
And that's because obviously you just wanted to prove people wrong.
Well, I just kind of so we did some stuff about like strengths and weaknesses as well, and a lot of the times actually, rather than your weakness, you're overdoing your like super strength. And my super strength is that I'm an intrinsically motivated person. I'll push myself through anything, and I was effectively overdoing that, and I was just going so hard. But my biggest thing that like we called sinking the boat was like buying into other people's thoughts and treating people's thoughts as facts. And one of the biggest things I learned was it's like an opinion, even opinion of yourself, but an opinion of other person. It's not a fact. It doesn't mean it's true. Just because someone says something, or even if you think I'm going to be rubbish, that's not a fact.
I mean, everybody almost kind of knows that, but it's hard to like start training your brain.
Yeah, and that was the point. It was like training yourself to think like that. So it's just like, and realizing when you have that negative thought of like, oh, Jen, like you're not going to do well. There's people here that are so much better than you. You've not done this and you've not done that. Like just realizing it and just switching it off and being like, this isn't useful. And also realizing that everybody feels like that as well, and it's totally normal. So I went to Hannah, my psychologist, and was like, I want to be able to control my feelings. I don't want to feel nervous. Other people don't feel nervous. And she was like, are you joking? Everybody feels nervous. And you can't control your feelings, but you just have to know that your feelings are going to ebb and flow, and just accept them and be comfortable with sitting with it. So it's more like being comfortable with being nervous, and actually knowing that when you're nervous, it's a good thing, because it means that competition and that thing you're doing, it's meaningful to you and you want to do well. So recognizing, yeah, I don't like this feeling in my tummy, but it's a good feeling and it's fine, it's normal for me to have it. And actually I'd be worried if I got to a race and was just really casual and like, yeah, whatever, like then you're not going to do well, are you? And knowing that like everybody feels like that.
And I think even if you're way too experienced in a sport that you're doing and you've done it for so long, you're still going to feel nervous.
Yeah, everyone, even world champions, like they feel nervous because they've got so much pressure on them as well.
They might feel way nervous then.
Yeah, definitely. And an athletics coach actually said to me once, like, it's normal to have butterflies, it's just learning how to get them to fly in formation, which I really, really liked, was just like, just getting used to that. So then I would turn up at races and be like, okay, I'm nervous, that's absolutely fine, and not letting those nerves take hold of me and take over me, and not letting, you know, if I had any negative thoughts, just be like, right, that's not a fact. Just because you think that, it doesn't mean it's going to happen. So just stop it and just realise that everyone's in the same boat. You know, the sea's really, really choppy. Everyone's nervous. Everyone's got to swim in that sea. We've all got to do this race in the rain. We're all in the same boat. Like, everybody's probably thinking the same thing, and just realising that it's normal.
And just knowing that you actually belong there.
Yeah.
And you're good enough to do this.
Yeah.
Yes, I think exactly what you said, because it's not so much about not getting nervous anymore. It's about finding ways to try and manage that and not let that take over you and you know, have a detriment effect on your actual performance. So you said you work with a sports psychologist. Did you, because it's a 3 different discipline that you have to learn and be good at. Do you have a separate coach for each one? Or?
So I have a swimming coach who was he was my swimming coach when I was younger.
Okay.
And we have a really, really good relationship, because I just went through so much as a teenager and he was always there. And then when I came to uni, I obviously had a different coach, and he coached me for quite a while. And then just before the Commonwealths, he moved to Bath and I joined a different swim club. And the coach there was lovely, but when I came back from Commonwealth, this was one of the things that I identified with the sports psychologist, that I wasn't living by my values, because I knew that if I carried on with that swim club, I wasn't going to progress. Like, he was a lovely guy, but there wasn't the ability, like, he wasn't pushing me hard enough, and didn't quite have that experience. So I just messaged my old swimming coach and said, like, I don't know what to do. Do you want to coach me? And he was like, absolutely. We'll do it on a 1-month trial basis, and then if you think it's working, we can keep going. And so I sent him that message in May 2018, and we're still going.
Nice.
So
I think he probably set such a high standard that any coach after him will probably not.
I mean, I think the really important thing is, though, you could have a coach who's like the most experienced person in the world and has you know, trained like world champions or whatever, but if you don't have that relationship with them where they know you and you know them like really well, and you need to both like trust each other, then it's never gonna work.
I mean, one of the most important thing a coach could do is like fully knowing you as a human being, because when you're out there racing or when you're in training sessions, the coach should be able to look at you and kind of like have an idea of how you're feeling.
And that's the thing with Max, because he started being my coach when I was 10 until I was 18 and left for uni. He knows me so well, and he would know just if I spoke to him on the phone, like, if no, I don't think you should do that session, or I don't think, or you can do that. And he knows exactly like what makes me tick. And it's the same thing when he would give me a session, I would know what he wanted out of me, because he'd coached me for so long. So other people might see that session and be like, oh, I don't really know what he means or what he wants, but I would know exactly.
And you also know what to say to motivate you. You know, if you trust your coach and respect your coach, when your coach says today you're gonna rest, you're gonna rest.
I mean, I struggle with resting. I'd still be like, are you sure about that? So I think I can keep going.
So you had
So that was swimming, and then I did have a running coach up until 2018, which was actually, that ended up being quite a bad relationship. And then, so after that, I actually self-coached myself, bike and run. And then, had an S&C coach as well.
Oh, I was going to ask you about that as well. So besides the endurance training, you do a lot of S&C training?
So I would do 2 sessions a week of S&C.
What would that involve?
So in the winter, it would be more like strength work.
Like the compound exercises?
Yeah. So effectively, I would do every session. I would have like lower limb, upper body stuff, lower body stuff, like plyometrics work to do, and then like core stability stuff. And effectively, it's injury prevention. So you're putting your body through so much, especially with the running, that you need to make sure all your muscles are firing and that you're strong enough to maintain the load and the stress that you're putting under your body. So in winter we would work primarily on strength, and then when you get to race season, just before race season, we would do more like power and explosive things. And then, to be fair, during race season it was just more about maintenance, because you don't want to, when you're racing and traveling and stuff, you don't want to end up with like loads of DOMs and things, but you also don't want to lose that stuff that you've built in the winter, because you just need to hold your body together.
And did you have like an S&C coach?
I had an S&C coach.
Right. And they were working on one-to-one basis?
Nice.
I love S&C. That's one of my favorite trainings.
I mean, I think it's really, a lot of athletes really underrate it and don't realise how important it is. And after I had that stress fracture, I took my S&C even more seriously, and I haven't had another injury since. And I think it's because of that. And I sometimes during race season I might only manage one session a week, and I knew if I did that a couple of weeks in a row, I could feel my body was like, I need to do more S&C, because I know that I'm tinkering on a line here where I might just end up getting injured because I'm pushing myself too hard, and I need to keep that strength up.
And again, being a physio, you're fully aware of that all the time. So that must be helpful. But do you find that a little bit irritating as well, like just
I think it's really good at times, because I've been an athlete for such a long time, I am really in tune with my body and know my body really, really well. But obviously I'm like anybody, I can give really good advice to some people but not pay attention to my own advice.
That's a problem with everyone. So how do you manage your time? How do you manage to train all these 3 disciplines and like be really good at it and put it all together as well?
Again, I think being an athlete from a young age really helps. So when you're a swimmer, and then I also ran a lot as well and used to do like all the other sports at school, I've effectively had really good time management from the age of about 10, because I would swim before school, I would swim after school, we would have gym, I would run, and then on my days off on a Sunday I used to play netball and football as well, and then I would do all my schoolwork. So it's just pure time management. But I think because I did that at such a young age, I got so used to it, and I've got used to the routine. I have been getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning since I was a kid to go swimming, so it's not like something new to me that's difficult to do.
It's almost like second nature.
And also I just I love to do it. Obviously there's days where I'm really tired and I want to have a rest, but I really enjoy it, so I don't find it difficult to motivate myself. So
describe to me like a typical training day, like when you wake up, like say if you have, especially if you're preparing for a race, so like a typical day of training.
So a day where I'm not working, so like my typical Fridays, I would wake up at like 5ish and have about an hour and a half to 2 hour swim session. I would have a bit of food before I went, just like a small bowl of cereal, and then straight afterwards would have like another, like a big bowl of like porridge or something, and then mid-morning would have a run session. And if it's in the run up to competition, that would usually be more like a speed session.
Is that be on a treadmill or outdoors?
It depends. So because of my injury, so I had to go through like checking that I didn't have any problems with like my bones and stuff, but I was like deficient in vitamin D and calcium, so I will do 2 sessions on the road, 1 session on grass and 1 session on the treadmill, and that's just to mix up.
I hate running on grass. I cannot stand
it's just to mix up the terrain that you're on. So it's really good for making you stronger, but also if you're just hammering the pavement day after day, that's how you end up with a stress fracture.
I had Will on, a good friend of mine. He's also like quite an elite runner. And we just had like a 2-hour conversation about running, and running itself is like a crazy intricate discipline in itself. So was there anything that you did to just increase your knowledge in the area?
I've been doing it since I was really young, so I used to like do athletics and cross country and everything, so I already had a pretty good idea. But I did go start seeing a running coach in was that in 2017, to work on because I knew that my running technique was really poor, and I was like a heel striker. I knew I was overstriding, but I didn't know. The trouble is you can't see yourself when you're out running. I knew from seeing pictures and like videos that I didn't have a beautiful run, and we worked really hard on my running technique. And again, because I know my body really well, I managed to change my running technique really quickly. He was really shocked with how quickly I managed to change it. And
because you've been training for so long as well, like since you was your brain is kind of used to being able to break down techniques a lot quicker and faster than normal people would do. So you pick things up like
so I did. I picked it up really quickly, and so my biomechanics was much better, which obviously reduces your chance of injury as well. So I learned lots about that through that.
Nice.
And also I knew that I was a very quad dominant athlete. That's a lot through swimming, but running, you get your momentum from actually like your glutes and your hamstrings. So it's actually, lots of people think that it's your stride forward is what carries you, but it's actually the pushing back like off the ground. So I knew so I do a lot of work in the gym on my glutes and my hamstrings because they're quite lazy, because they just never had to be used when I was a swimmer.
What kind of training do you do for them? In terms of just exercises? What exercises?
Yeah, so I would always do some really heavy glute bridging, a lot of like just a lot of hamstring stuff as well. Yeah. And yet you can still see that I don't have a massive hamstring bulk compared to a lot of people, so I work really hard on that. And
do you enter like any running competitions just to kind of?
Sometimes. That's probably one of my least favourite of the three to like just enter on its own. I kind of
You get bored of it?
No, well, the main thing that I don't like about it is that a lot of running races are in the evening, and I love to race in the morning. I hate like waiting around all day for a race, and like you're getting a bit nervous, you don't know what to eat, like all that kind of thing.
And also, you're used to waking up at 5 in the morning, so you're
yeah.
a morning person.
And a lot of triathlon races are generally like in the morning, or I mean, I have had to do a few races in the evening, but yeah, that's just my time that I like to race at. Yeah. So yeah, and I just kind of found that they didn't really fit my calendar that well, but I did do quite a lot of I would also find actually that I would run faster off the bike, and people found that ridiculous. So I would run faster in a triathlon in 5k than I would just doing a 5k solo.
Why do you think that is?
Because that's what I train for, and that's what I'm used to, and that's what my body's used to. And also, like, you've had the most insane warm up, you're like super warm, ready to go. And I would do a lot of, as you get close to competitions, I do a lot of bike to run sessions, so you get used to that feeling of getting off after a hard bike and running, because your legs are just like jelly. And I also think you're already in a whole world of pain, that the run, then it's so easy to push yourself, because you don't feel fresh when you get off the bike. You already feel exhausted and everything hurts, so you just carry on hurting. Whereas when you start a running race, you don't hurt, and you have to go like through that barrier.
I always tell people like running like half marathon or whatnot, anything longer than that, the first 5k is always the hardest. Yeah. Because your body still feels kind of fresh, and you're trying to get your breathing right, and your muscles still hurting. Because sometimes you get like little aches and stuff in 5k that by the time you hit like 10 or 11, it's already gone. Like, you don't worry about it that much.
I mean, when I enter running races, I prefer to enter like a half marathon type distance than a 5k. Because that is more actually equivalent to the amount of time that you would spend doing a triathlon. Whereas when you're doing a 5k, it's just like, you're just full of lactate. It's so hard.
And you're trying to go as fast as you can. Yeah. So the biking is interesting to me, because when I think about it, it's almost like you have to really take care of that bike as well. So that almost feels like a skill in itself as well. Another thing to learn on top of everything else that you need to learn. So did you have to go through lots of, I don't know, just speaking to people with experience to try and figure that out? Or?
Absolutely. You really need to be able to look after your bike and take care of it. And I'm quite lucky, like my uncle is just a super whiz at bikes, so he has taught me.
Go-to guy.
Yeah, I mean, he lives in the Lake District, so it's a bit of a commute, but he's taught me loads of stuff about bikes, and you do kind of pick things up along the way. And I would be forever like taking my bike to the bike shop and being like, oh, help me, I don't know what's wrong with it. But then like asking them to like teach me the stuff. And I've watched a lot of YouTube videos, and
YouTube is great. There's always someone teaching you how to do
and there's like GCN, which is the Global Cycling Network. They do videos for absolutely anything, but like learning how to like pack my bike as well into the bike bag when I'm traveling abroad, and unpack it and put it all together. The first few times I did that was like really, really stressful.
I bet. Can you have the same bike for a long time, or is it one of those where you have to continuously change?
No, I've got the same race bike for like quite a few years, which is like, because I've got super comfortable on that bike, and you kind of find the more the better bike you get, so the more money that you spend on a bike, actually you're only changing really, really tiny, intricate little things, but you're spending like thousands of pounds. So there's although my bike might be seen by some people as like a bit outdated, it fits me perfectly. I feel really comfortable on it.
To the bike,
absolutely, yeah. We've done a lot of stuff together.
Yeah, you've been through war with me.
Yeah.
All these races.
But yeah, so it's a very personal thing, your bike as well. So once you get a bike that you feel like really comfortable on and really happy with, there's no point changing it for something that you know the marginal gains are so marginal that actually you might not feel comfortable and happy with it.
I mean, you might spend another 1,000 on a bike that on paper might be better for you. Yeah. But it just might not feel as good.
Yeah, and also I know how to fix pretty much everything on my bike now. So if I'm in a foreign country and something goes wrong, I can do it. But if I had a bike, like a new bike that had different components and different bits on, you have to relearn all of that stuff as well.
Yeah, that sounds like a headache.
Yeah.
Is there different types of triathlon races that you enter, or is it just one?
So there's different distances. Okay. So I would race what we call short course, which is a sprint and standard distance, and that is not professional, it's elite, because that's what goes on in the Olympics. So obviously technically you have to be an amateur to be in the Olympics. So it's like funded once you're on like the British pathway, but it's technically you're not a professional, you're in an elite, you race in the elite category. So a sprint is 750 swim, 20k bike, 5k run. A standard is double that, so 1500 swim, 40k bike, 10k run. And then you've got like Ironman and half Ironman distance, which you might have heard of. So they are termed as professional, so you don't get like lottery funding for that. You have to go out and get sponsorship and prize money, which is what you would live off. The prize money for it is like pretty big.
Is that only if you actually win the race, or?
Yeah, it depends each race how far the prize money goes down, but they obviously the races depend on sponsors.
Yeah, I mean, I assume an athlete like that would be relying so much on sponsors too.
Yeah, completely on sponsors. And those races, you would race a time trial bike rather than a road bike. So, you know, the ones that have like the sticky out bars, and they're non-drafting. So you're not allowed within 12 meters of each other when you're cycling, and you cycle like head down, an aero helmet on.
So how do you take over someone?
So you have a certain amount of time to go past. Yeah.
If you're behind, you're gonna stay behind the whole time. You don't do that.
Yeah, no. You have to be a certain distance, and then once you go past them, it's the person who you've gone past. They have to then pull back. Yeah. But so you're not allowed to like draft and ride in a pack. Whereas in short course racing, you have to ride a UCI, which is like the cycling body, a UCI legal road bike. You can't have a time trial bike, and you can't have like the clip-on handlebars and all that sort of stuff.
Sounds way too strict.
That's what I prefer. Like I just find just putting your head down and being on your own for that amount of time, like it's not exciting and fun.
Do you train with like headphones in or anything? Because I'm assuming
sometimes I do. Yeah.
You're not allowed to wear headphones in race days.
No. Yeah. But yeah, depending, like especially if I've got a big treadmill session, I would always have my headphones in for that.
What do you listen to normally?
I've got quite a lot of playlists, but just like
just music that you listen to.
Yeah.
See, I can't do that. I can't listen and run to music.
Oh really?
Like after 30 minutes, it just irritates me a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, if I'm going on like an easy run, then I would listen to podcasts and stuff on that, because actually I find if I listen to music, I'm going too fast. And you need to, like, the point of the easy run is that you are going easy and you're not getting your heart rate above a certain level. Do
you train without music sometimes?
Yeah.
Because that's what I do with my guys sometimes, you know, at the end where we do a bit of like circuit training after the kick, because I have music on whilst we train, but I always put like something a bit more chill. Yeah. And then when it's time to like go through the hard part of the training, I just turn the music off. Yeah. And some people hate that. Some people are like, I need the music, you know. No, you gotta listen to your thoughts.
I think it's dependent on who you are. I mean, I grew up in quite a musical house. Like there was always music on in our house anyway, so it's quite like a background thing that I would enjoy.
Must be like almost comforting as well to like.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. What sort of equipment and stuff do you take with you on race day? Is there like any specific kind of like don't know, like fuel or anything that you take with you, like protein bars or, well, not protein bars, but you know what I mean?
Yeah. So I would always have like a carbohydrate, sugary drink that I just drink like throughout the morning or throughout the day. Because obviously, like when you're nervous, it's quite hard to eat. So I would quite often take, well, depending on where I'm going, if I'm going to a foreign country, I would take like a breakfast with me that I like to eat just in case I can't get stuff.
Yeah, that's a
there.
good shout. Yeah. You don't want to just go back to McDonald's because that's the only thing you're familiar with. Right? Go back to McDonald's.
Yeah, but I would just drink like a sugary carbohydrate drink throughout. I would have caffeine like half an hour before the race, and I just have that in the form of like caffeine tablets. And then while I'm racing, depending on the distance of the race, so if I'm racing a sprint distance, I would have a gel on my bike. And if I'm doing an Olympic, which is double, I would try and have 2 gels. Sometimes if my tummy's feeling a bit funny, I would end up like just carrying the gel around and just like sipping it gradually just to keep getting that sugar in.
Do you prefer to train on almost like an empty stomach rather than... Because when I used to do my training sessions in the morning, I always wanted to feel a bit of hunger.
Oh no, I like to
eat before.
Yeah.
What do you normally eat before the training sessions?
But it's just something that's like quite carbohydrate dense.
Yeah.
So and then afterwards have something that's like higher protein.
Yeah.
But yeah, just something like carby and something. I did a little bit of work with a nutritionist. Because I would find it when I first started training like full time, I found it really hard to fuel myself because in between sessions I've only got like an hour and a half.
Yeah, especially if you're so busy throughout the day.
Yeah. So I would be like, I couldn't eat enough, and I started to lose weight because I just couldn't eat enough to keep me going.
That makes you more prone to injuries and stuff like
absolutely.
that.
So I would, in between sessions, I quite often just have really simple things like toast with jam on, because you're getting the carbs, but you're getting the sugar as well, because you need that sugar to be able to do like the high intensity sessions. And then when I'm out on the bike, if I'm going out for like anything over 2 hours, I would take fuel with me and eat on the way round. And I'd find it much easier to do that than when you're running and swimming, because when you're cycling, you're not like bouncing your tummy up and down, so you don't feel as sick. And just also making sure I do eat quite a lot of like shakes as well, so just like making myself like a chocolate milk, peanut butter and banana and some oats in there, because it's just easier for you to digest.
And do you take any supplements as well?
I just take calcium and vitamin D.
I try and keep it basic. Any fish oil?
No.
It tastes horrible. What do you do for recovery? Because obviously you train all the time.
I mean, the absolute best recovery is sleep, and sometimes it's about knowing like I've not had enough sleep, and actually I just need to, it's better for me to not do this training session and just sleep more. Making sure that I just have plenty of protein in my diet as well.
Do you do any any sort of how can I put this? Because obviously you train all the time and you've been active for all your life. Basically, it must be really hard to switch off. You know, when it's time to rest. Is there anything that you do to try and just switch off and just let your body relax? Because I feel like my body's always on a go. You always switch on throughout the day. You're working, you're training, and you train again, and you train again. When it's time to like sleep.
I think so. So I will always try and finish training by this is quite hard sometimes when you're working, but like latest like 7 o'clock in the evening, so that I've got that time, because like I go to bed at like 9 because I've got to get up so early. But if I finish training, I find it harder in summer because I will end up training later just because it's light, so I don't realise what time it is, and then I can't switch off and go to sleep. But I am a really good sleeper, and I do nap a lot as well. So
you're lucky.
On days where I'm not at work, I'll pretty much always have a nap. So sometimes I can be back in bed by 8:30 in the morning after swimming. You have to have that joy, because if you're to be a professional or elite at anything, you have to dedicate so much time to it that if you don't have that joy, there'll always be days where you're tired and you think, oh my God, it's 5 o'clock again, like I don't want to get up. But you have to have that joy to be able to do it, and once you lose that, then like you're done, really.
And I also just love the idea of training without the pressure now. And I any extra time that I have, like today, I just want to go and hold pads for my guys. You know what I mean? I don't.
And I have that feeling as well. Like, I can't imagine a time in my life where I don't swim and cycle and run, even if I'm not competitive. And because I've enjoyed, I mean, that's how me and Emily became friends, was because we just used to go to the gym together, and we went spinning and went to circuit classes together when we were at uni. And I've always loved it. And I've never, as a kid, my mum never put any pressure, and I think that was really important as well. She never put any pressure on me. And you get the typical like pushy parents. My mum was a single mum with 3 kids. She literally didn't have time to be a pushy parent, but she used to say to me all the time, the day you don't enjoy it and you don't want to go swimming, it's fine, just tell me and you can go and do something else.
That's really important.
And I'm one of the only people from my training group of kids who still swims, which I think is really sad. And like in the mornings, if I wanted to get up and go swimming before school, it would be my responsibility to wake her up. She wouldn't come and wake me up. Yeah. And she was like, if you want to go, that's fine, I'll take you. But you love this so much. You have to get up. And I think that was so important, and that's what's kept me going, and that's why I still do it and why I still enjoy it, because I never had that pressure. I mean, my mum probably realised that I put all the pressure on myself, so she didn't need to add anything to it. Yeah. we're very similar people, so she already knew that. But I think that was such an important thing, was that I didn't have that pressure from my mum, and so I've never got to the point where I hate it, and consequently there'll never be a time in my life where I'm not just like keeping fit and just enjoying.
Have you thought about your future and what you want to do once you stop like racing and stuff? Have you ever thought about maybe getting into coaching, giving back?
I would. I mean, I really enjoy my job as a physio, so I work as a specialist in neurological physio, so with patients who've had strokes or head injuries, spinal cord injuries, like Parkinson's, MS. And effectively, like a lot of my patients, I'll be like teaching them how to walk again, and I get a lot of joy out of that, and I really enjoy it.
It sounds really rewarding.
It is, and you become a big part of a person's life, and I do think it's quite similar to coaching. You go through a massive journey with somebody, and help them to achieve something that they want to achieve. And I would really enjoy like getting into coaching, and I think a lot of the experiences I've had, I'd love to help other people with that. And I'm actually getting involved as a volunteer with a project for female athletes, of a support network that one of the swimmers in Sheffield has started with somebody else. Nice. Just basically because there's so many athletes who are just under they train and race at an elite level, but they're just under the threshold of funding. So they don't have, if they want to go to a sports psychologist, they've got to pay for it. And I think there's a lot of times as an athlete, and females in particular, you go through so much stuff and you feel like you're completely alone, and that nobody else has gone through that. And then when you actually talk to people, you realise that so many other people have been through those similar things to you.
So it's like a support network.
A support network of like current and retired athletes, where basically we're on hand so people can reach out.
So it could almost be like a mentor for someone.
Literally, so they can reach out to us and just be there for a one-on-one chat, or be there all the time, so that we can just like peer support, effectively support people that are going through a hard time.
And I think young athletes sometimes just need that. They need
definitely. They just need to know as well that I've learned through myself, it's so important to actually learn that other people feel exactly the same way that you do. And once you realise, someone else feels like that, someone else got hit by a car, someone else had a stress fracture and they managed to get through it, someone else has had an injury and thought, oh my god, everything's over. And when you're injured, you think everyone else is training and I can't train, and everyone's getting better than I'm getting, and I'm losing out on all this stuff. And to just to hear someone be like, no, it's fine, you'll get back to that level, I've done it, you can do it. I think that's like a really important thing. And quite often, especially when you're injured, then you're not going training, you're not in your training group, and so you just feel really alone and isolated. So to have that.
Is it like a weekly thing that you guys meet up?
So it's literally only just started. It's called Athlete Interactions, and
do you have like any sort of websites or anything?
It's on Instagram,
Okay, you can plug the Instagram.
So what's that name? Any Athlete Interactions.
I'm gonna follow that.
Yeah, so it's only just started, but it's
is it for females only?
It's just for females at the moment. Yeah, because I do think that there is so many coaches are men, and so many, when you get to the top of sports, it is really largely driven by men, and there are a lot of things that females struggle with, like just stuff like periods and things that men don't actually know about, so that you often need a girl to talk to.
Do you find that the male athletes get sponsors a lot easier than the female one as well?
I think I'm incredibly lucky, and I didn't realise, so in triathlon everything is equal, and it's probably the only sport where that happens, where women get equal prize money, we race equal distances, men don't always get the prime time slot, it'll rotate between the men and the women who's races first and who races second. I think especially in Britain, like we've got such an amazing female squad of athletes in Britain that it's really, really high. But other sports, it's like cycling, for example, absolutely dreadful. The women get less than half the money that men would get. They get no TV time. Like it's getting better, but it's only really recently that women had a minimum wage for cycling. You would have people in teams who their actual salary would be zero, and that would just be that their teams were, you know, paying for them to go to races, so they wouldn't actually have to pay for anything. But yeah,
well, that's a really, really good thing to focus on, especially when you completely like give up racing. That's really you're making a massive impact on people's lives, and people actually need that, so that's amazing.
Yeah, and that's I mean, when Amber approached me to do it, I just thought, well, actually there's so many times that I would have loved to have had that person and that support network to help me, so if I can just do that for one other person. That's the thing.
Sometimes you feel like when I was younger, they were saying things that I didn't have in place. I've always felt like I'm missing out on this and I wish like I had it, but almost now looking back, I feel like I'm kind of glad I went through the things that I went through, because I've learned so much from them that my guys will never need to go through.
Yeah, you do learn a lot, and it makes you who you are, and it makes you it's so like cliche, but all the struggles that you go through, like they do make you a better athlete. And at times, like when I had my stress fracture, I was like, oh my god, if one more person tells me that I'll come out stronger from this, I think I'll punch them in the face. Like I can't listen to you say that all I want to be doing is like running and swimming and cycling, and I just want to be fine. But it does, and you learn so much about yourself, your body, your mind, like all the things that you go through. The times where I just felt like when I was in like a really bad place and just felt really crap about everything.
Did you have anybody as well that you maybe, because I know you said you were really close to your coach, but did you have anybody that was almost like a mentor or somebody that you looked up to when you were younger?
When I was a swimmer, yeah, I did. Not a mentor, just people that I used to look up to. And I think as well, like in triathlon, there's actually, especially as I got to competing at the level that I did, I learned that actually the world champions, the European champions, all these people that won all these races, they're such lovely, lovely people, and you realise that actually they're just a normal person. You're not like, oh my god, they're like some kind of god or whatever. But actually,
any athletes that you really admired and you had a bit of
Oh yeah, so when I was at the Commonwealths, at Gold Coast, there's like everyone kept asking me what's the best bit about the Commonwealth Games. It's the food hall. So not just for the food, but the fact that all the athletes are in there. It's open 24/7, so they're all the time. So you just like see people and you're like, oh my god, I've never seen them on TV, this is amazing. But then it's really bizarre because people were coming up to me in the street, like kids and stuff, and asking me for like my autograph asking me for stuff, and I was like, you don't really want my autograph, like I'm not that good, do you want to go and get somebody else's? Like, are you sure you don't know who I am?
That's amazing. That's what it's about.
It was mad, and people would stop you and like they'd see that I had like my race number on my bike, whatever, and they'd stop me and be like, oh my gosh, you raced the triathlon. And like there was all the different schools, like loads of them picked out certain countries and had learnt, so like these kids had like came up to me and they'd all learnt about the Isle of Man and they were supporting the Isle of Man, all these little Australian kids. It was adorable, and I was thinking, oh god, I'm not going to win, guys, you should be supporting Bermuda, they're going to win.
Did that put a lot more pressure on you?
No, it was actually really cute, and like I think because I'd kind of come through so quickly and kind of wasn't actually ever sure if I would make it as this, like I've never seen myself as somebody who people look up to. I see myself as someone who was always trying to climb up.
Because you were always the underdog.
Yeah, so I found it just mad that people were coming up to me and asking me for my autograph or asking me for pictures. And
Are you sure?
I literally so many times I was like, that's really kind of you to ask, but you don't want mine, you have someone else's. Let me just go and get someone else for you.
Did you ever have any kids say, oh, okay, well, I don't want yours then?
Well,
point to the most famous person here.
Well, actually, so one of the girls on my team is from the Isle of Man. She's a race walker and we look really, really similar, and we shared a room and we became really good friends in Gold Coast. And race walking is like this massive deal in Australia.
Is it?
So we went to this athletics meet that was on like a week or so before the Commonwealths, and Erica wasn't actually racing, but we had a javelin thrower and an 800 metre runner, and they were both racing. So I went to go like watch this athletics meet with her, and someone came up to me because they thought that I was Erica, and they were like, oh, can I have your autograph, Erica Kelly? And I was like, oh no, I'm like Jen. And they were like, what do you do? And I was like, triathlon. And they literally were like, oh, is that it? And it just walked off. And I was like, oh my god.
Your favourite athlete of all time?
Georgia Taylor Brown.
Tell me a bit more.
She's a British triathlete who oh my god, it's really difficult for me to choose an athlete, but she's can I choose one from another sport as well?
Of course, yeah.
So she's she's a British triathlete. She's been world champion. She's just like a really super amazing triathlete, but also a really, really lovely person.
She still competes?
Yeah.
Oh,
She competed this morning actually in
nice.
Yokohama. Yeah.
You met her?
Yeah, she's lovely.
Nice.
So I think that's like a really nice thing. I mean, all the British triathlon girls are lovely. Oh my gosh, it's so hard to choose a favourite athlete of all time though. I have a huge girl crush on Katarina Johnson-Thompson. I think she's amazing, the heptathlete. Yeah. Yeah. And then I also really like Eleanor Barker, who's a cyclist. She's won gold at the Olympics before on the track, but she's like recently had a baby and then come back and is racing on the road now, and I just I think she's really great. Sorry?
Is she British as well?
Yeah.
Nice. I'll try and remember those names and do some Googling after.
I could give you a list of so many people.
I think she give me some list. I'll be interested to find out a bit more about those people. Yeah. Because I don't know anybody that's like I mean I know athletes that I've seen, but I don't really know who's like the top of the top when it comes to like triathlon. Are they like basically top level athletes? Yeah. Okay, so the next one, this one might be difficult. Actually, it might not be. I thought it would be difficult when I wrote it. Running, swimming, or biking?
Which one's my favourite?
If you had to pick one.
Oh, that's really difficult. If it's a really sunny day, cycling. If it's a really rainy day, swimming. If I don't have much time, running.
That's a good answer. Your favorite race that you competed in?
Ever. This cannot be rapid fire. Let me think about it.
No, you can take your time.
That's really difficult. But actually, one of my favourite races was, in fact, it was this time last year, this weekend. I didn't actually do that well in this race, but so at the end of 2021, that's when I'd had like my head injury, and I actually got hit by a car again a few weeks afterwards as well. I just had I was in quite a bad place at the end of the season, and I wasn't sure if I was going to race last year. And then I had COVID about 2 weeks prior to this race that I did, like this weekend last year, and I was just really down, really mentally in a really bad place, and I actually spent a whole day of Emily just crying and being like, I don't know if I can race triathlon anymore. And the team that I raced for in France asked me to go to this race, and I was like, guys, ask somebody else. I've had COVID, I've just been in bed for like 2 weeks. And they were like, no, Jen, we don't care if you don't finish, we just really, really need you to come, because if they don't put 5 people on the start line, you get a penalty. So I was like, okay, I'll come, and anyway, I was really nervous because it was the first time that I'd gone to a race completely by myself. So like flew to France, had to fly via Dublin to get to France because it was some Grand Prix or something in Monaco. So all the flights to Nice were
already stressed.
Yeah. So I went there, got myself there, and I raced, and my race was pretty mediocre. Like the result was nothing to look at on paper, but considering I'd done like one run and one bike ride in 2 weeks, it was actually like a really good achievement. But it was the first time in probably 2 years that I really enjoyed the race, and I was just surrounded by people who were supporting me and who I felt like really wanted me to do well. And the next day we raced in the French Relay Championships, which were really, really fun, and just the whole weekend, like I just had a really good time, and it just made me realise actually I'm way more capable than I think I am, and I can do this and I can do it by myself. And
do you think also because you don't have much pressure?
Definitely. But that just, it felt like it brought all the joy back, and I ended up having the best year ever last year, and it was because of that race. So
did you fall in love with it again?
Yeah, absolutely. So although I've won like medals at other races and had a really great time, that was a really special race for me. And it was I don't think that team will ever know what they did for me, because that weekend they were just all, I was just in such a supportive, lovely environment that I hadn't been in 2021. And that just ignited everything. And I thought, like I can do this. And actually when I'm happy, I can race wherever I want and do whatever I want. And I'm doing this for myself and for the joy of me, not for anybody else. And so that was like a really special race for me.
See, that's why it's really important to be around people who like elevate 100%. Your game. Because I had times where through my career where I didn't really enjoy as much, like I said before, but then I'd go to like a different gym with my other friends, because I have like bunch of friends that train in Manchester in different places in Rotherham. So I just go for a quick visit or like a quick training session for like a sparring session or whatnot. Then I'll come out of that session and I think actually I love this so much. Like, I should be doing this. Like,
I think it was the first time in like 2 years where I'd felt like I'd turned up to a race and I felt like actually people want me to do well, and people are supporting me and people love me and like they want to see me achieve, and I hadn't had that feeling for so long, and that was just such a lovely feeling. And when you have that, rather than being surrounded by like the negativity, and like they said, like they were like, we don't care, we just want you to come and race with us, like it doesn't matter how you do it.
We just want you to be there.
We just want you to be there. And I mean, we had like such a lovely weekend as well, because quite a few of the people on the team live in that town, so we like all had our dinner together and just all had a really nice time, and everyone was so lovely, and there was no like, oh, you did rubbish, like you've just had COVID or whatever. Everyone was just so nice, and I don't think that those people that were there will ever realise the full impact they had, and the fact that they were the start of me having such a good season in
hopefully
2022. Maybe.
I think
they probably won't listen because they're all in France.
The other thing is as well this you forget how important it is to be happy when you're doing something, because that just makes you want to do well, and that's how you do well. But the other thing is as well with athletes, like all people really see, like the average people, all they see is the actual race day, for example. And then if you don't do well in that race day, they don't see the things that you have to go through to even make it to the race day. So it's like, it's nice to be surrounded by people that fully get you, where you don't have to like justify your shit. They just know, you're not doing well, but you are a good athlete. You might not do well this time around, but we know why you won't do well this time around, and we don't care about that. We just want you to come here and enjoy it, and that's really beautiful. So what's your favorite sport outside of swimming, biking and running?
That's really hard to pick. I follow a lot of sports.
Give me something that's like a bit of a wild card, maybe.
Well, I really enjoy netball. So I used to play netball a lot when I was younger, but watching high level netball is really, like, that's really great to watch.
So do you have like a song or a movie that you listen to or you watch to kind of like hype you up before race day or like the night before or something?
Not so much a movie, but I listen to Jimmy Eat World, The Middle, a lot. Yeah.
Is that before race day?
Yeah, and I listened to that a lot when I was having a really hard time, because it's like, just do your best, be yourself. It doesn't matter if it's good enough for someone else.
Yeah.
Like
that's a comforting song.
Yeah, that's like something that I listen to, and then I'd be like, yeah, it reminds me that I'm just there for me and not for anybody else.
Do you have like are you the type of athlete that likes to remain really calm before a race? Or
I'm
you don't like to fire yourself up?
No, I mean, in general, like, I am like an introvert, and I'm quite a quiet person anyway. So yeah, I like to be like quiet and
just in your zone.
In my zone. I'm not like jumping around, smashing my chest, and like listening to really loud music. Like, I like to be just. Yeah. And I also really don't like. I know that other people like really look up their competition and know stuff about other people. I don't like to focus on that and just think I can only do what I can do. So I just focus on me. I don't find that a useful thing to do.
I think it might throw you off a little bit if you look at the list or something and you find the name and you search that person and you find out that
like what's the point in looking at what training they've been doing or looking at this and looking at that? I can only do what I've done. So sometimes my ex-boyfriend used to do that and would like tell me about these girls, and I'd be like, I don't want to know. I don't want to know about them. Yeah.
Texting or calling?
Texting.
Running in the daytime or at the nighttime?
Daytime.
Favorite time in the day to train?
Morning.
I knew that already. Okay, final one. Favorite movie of all time?
The Boat That Rocked.
I don't know if I've seen that.
It's about like pirate radio. It's not a sports film at all.
But
it's got really great soundtrack to it.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna add two more because I think it'll be interesting. Okay. If you had to go to dinner with any celebrity, who would it be? Not just celebrity. Let's just think about like just anybody. Celebrity, I guess, but like it could be anybody.
Just anybody famous.
Yeah. Oh
gosh, that's really, really hard. Greg James from Radio 1, the presenter. I just find him so fun.
I don't know if I know. All right, if you had to punch any celebrity in the face, there has to be someone that you see.
I'm laughing because there's plenty of people that I would punch.
Name like a few, go ahead.
If I had to punch anybody, I mean, I'd probably punch Donald Trump.
Okay.
Yeah. Definitely.
I think a lot of people would want to punch.
Yeah.
And I think it would be a hard punch as well, wouldn't it?
Yeah. I would get Emily to teach me how to do really hard kickboxing first.
Proper technique and everything.
Yeah.
Jen, it's been amazing. Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks
I feel
for
like
having me.
I've learned so much, and I think hopefully in the future at some point we could do this again, because there's so many other questions that I have about the sport, about yourself, and about recovery and all that I think I could learn from you. So thank you so much for coming.
No problem. It's been a pleasure.